TYT at the Bar is brought to you by our friends at Live Oak Bank. Check them out at liveoakbank.com.
All right, guys, so we talked a little bit about comedy. We talked a little bit about vices. You might argue that comedy is our vice. I wanted to bring it back to politics because that's what we do around here at the Young Turks, right? So everybody's saying 2016, Bush, Jeb. Now they're saying Jeb Bush is going to run, and of course Hillary. So I want to talk about just this dynasty family thing, because I talk about it on my show all the time, and I think it's so exhausting. It's so horrible for the country, and it's good for us as comics. It's good for funny people, but it really is terrible. Are you guys on board this idea that these families, we've got to stop it? And we shouldn't just coronate them?
I don't know. I mean, people look back at the Kennedys and they say that was Camelot. I mean, they romanticize that. They think that was such a nostalgic, lovely thing. So is it just not lovely now because we don't like the people running? We don't like those particular families? Or do we really not like this sort of monopoly?
I mean, for me, it's all about the monopoly. Like, I just think we need more people. I don't know about you guys, but nobody in my family has ever been president.
No,
either one in your family?
Not yet.
Not yet. So I think there are other people, and I love on the news now, this whole week, everybody on the news has been like, Jeb is the only Republican who can do it. That's the new meme. He's the only Republican. He's a compassionate conservative. He loves immigrants. That's what he said like 2 weeks ago. And that they just frame it. The media is in on it. They're in on the fix. And they just keep saying, they keep repeating it until everyone believes it.
You know, it shows you how strong branding is, or whatever, or Q factor more than anything. Q factor meaning that people recognize the Bush name, so he has a head start already, right? So, I mean, his father, one-term president, wasn't popular at all.
Yeah.
His son, worst president in history, and yet his brother, 8 years later,
has a real shot.
Has a real shot of being president. And it's unbelievable. Worst president in history. Worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And two wars, one being complete bullshit.
Does he have a brother? Because maybe his brother could be president.
Maybe he has a brother.
It's like a desperate woman. Does he have a brother?
That's funny.
But you know, speaking of that, when you say, you're absolutely right, because in therapy, I don't know if any of you have ever dabbled, but I'm a frequent flyer.
We're comedians.
Yeah. So we talk about something, you know, when you keep going back to the same kind of relationship that's toxic and terrible, it's called miserable familiarity. It's miserable, but it's familiar. We always gravitate towards what's familiar. So maybe the collective unconscious is just going towards this miserable familiarity with both of these guys, depending on who you're into.
So you think it's actually more sort of like human psychology than, say, the media's in on it kind of thing? Like, I know
both?
I'm not like a huge conspiracy theorist, but I do have this belief that these people with money just keep pumping money in.
Sure.
You know, it's all the stuff we talk about all the time. But you also think there's like an actual psychological component to it.
Why not? I mean, if it happens in each of our personal lives, why can't it happen to us on a larger scale?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think she's right, but I just think it's just about money. I think all of a sudden, there's no poll that shows Jeb Bush, I mean, you know, being the overwhelming, people want Jeb Bush. You know, it's not, there's no groundswell in the grassroots. It's coming from top down. It's
right.
People know he can raise money right away. He has the right connections, donors. He can get donor money, and that's who, because they know he'll do their bidding. That's why they like him, and he's going to figure out a way with the Hispanials, and he's going to finesse that one just fucking right, you know. So we get to retain our power as long as possible, before Hispanial takes over.
Didn't George Bush have a saying about if you get fooled once,
Yeah.
and that happened with him? What was the saying?
And the saying is, we have the sound in Oklahoma. I'm sure we have down in Texas. You fool me once, shame on
You.
Fool me. You can't get fooled again.
And yet we might get fooled again with Jeb. What about Hillary? Because I have the same feeling about her. I just don't
Look, I
think.
respect a good pantsuit. Don't take that away from all of us. Not all of us like wearing skirts and power dresses all the time.
I know this isn't politically incorrect to say, but she's way more bangable right now.
Than Jeb? Oh, just now.
No, that as she gets older, she becomes
Really?
Yeah.
Hotter?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone say that. You think Hillary Clinton's getting
Well, I
sex?
got a thing for old ladies.
You like Hillary Clinton?
No, I think she's gotten.
I haven't heard that before.
Yeah,
She's going to be a
elaborate.
grandma.
Do
by
I
the
like
time the
her as
election
a?
runs
Do I like
around.
her I like her sexually, but I don't like her politically.
You might be the
taking
only
her.
person on the planet that's ever said those words.
I'm sure. No, but I think people forget she was on the board of Walmart for what, 6 years or what have you, and then she took part in the deregulation of Wall Street. So she's not the
Right, and she also just got 500 grand from Goldman Sachs to give 2 speeches,
Literally.
and literally, I'm not making that up.
They literally just went and gave her money.
Yeah, so it's on both sides. So it's sort of what you're talking about. It's like this psychological thing, and then it's just this money thing. So how do we break out of it? Because this is what we do.
Wolf-pack.com face.
Yeah.
What are you kidding me? How do we break out of this?
Yeah.
That's how you break out of it. See what happened in New Hampshire?
I want that gift.
Hey, did you see what Harry Reid just said? Harry Reid's saying, but Cenk's been saying for the last whatever. Harry Reid said we're going to have to get an amendment to get money out of politics.
Right.
Yeah.
Harry Reid.
Well, and I don't know.
So maybe it's not such a stupid idea.
Which actually is the reverse of what you said before, because that's actually truly bottom up. It's starting at the local level,
Yes.
as
To take the
Cenk always
money out.
talks about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you two are familiar with Marianne Williamson. I've been a big fan of hers for a long time.
We're very familiar.
Oh, I would kill to hear that story. But she's sort of a new thought leader, as it's called, a spiritual leader.
She's good.
Self-help. But she is really she's
really
a phenomenal speaker. She's an amazing woman. And when she made her announcement that she was running for Congress, I was at the event, whatever. I was super, super excited. And people like, oh, she doesn't have a chance. Well, she has a real chance now, and it's pretty
sure
exciting.
She does.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I think so. I think she can. Yeah.
And how exciting would that be?
Don't you need those people every now and again, especially to do what we do, like those glimmers of hope? Because we talk about this stuff so much that a lot of times, when at the end of the day, I'm really sort of spent emotionally. I'm like,
right?
shit, this stuff, the system is so screwed up, and we're trying at whatever little level we can. But you need those people, right?
Absolutely. And like we said, I mean, she has a real shot. And yeah, you think, oh, it's just one person. Well, it's one more than we had last time, and I don't think we've ever had it before.
Yeah.
So this could be really,
Certainly
really
better
exciting.
than the corporate system. People forget Henry Waxman was one of the authors of the over the post office bill. I don't know what that.
Well, he's on his way out, right?
Yeah, he's retiring.
That's the one.
She's going to
against,
try to get his seat.
Yeah.
So, and Matt Miller from Left, Right, and Center is also running.
Yeah.
And,
What makes you guys? What drove you to get into this little political world that we're in? It was not money. What made you? What made you?
Look, I've never known that much about politics. I wasn't a politics junkie growing up by any means. But as I got older, it ended up feeling almost like celebrity gossip, but something that actually mattered. Like, oh, guess what they're doing in the White House? And it made it relatable, and it made it matter. And since I'm not someone who, you can ask me anything, and I'll give you one decent answer. Do not ask me a follow-up question. This is not my main.
Be a politician.
Exactly.
Oh.
But it's going to sound like I'm such an ass kisser, but because I've met such cool people that do this, and this isn't just for nerds and binary code speakers and assholes, that people I respect, people I have fun with, people I'd want to hang out with anyway, care about this. Why can't I?
Yeah.
And it's become really important to me.
Yeah. Were you always doing political stand-up?
I'm never sure how to categorize what I do. I don't go. When I think of political stand-up, I think of that Mark Russell guy and how horribly unfunny he was.
I don't even know who he is.
And there's just I just think of I don't know I want to.
Bill Maher.
Yeah, I would be more like I would.
You're Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're Jimmy freaking Dore.
I think it's I like to talk about things like when I was in high school, I took a class called Current Events, and our textbook was Time Magazine, and it was when Ronald Reagan was president. And I didn't know anything about anything before then, and I just took this class because they made us. And you had to read Time Magazine every week, and I was like, oh my God. This guy Reagan is a real asshole. I thought he was great. My dad says he's great. He voted for him, And I would go home and I would go, Dad, what's going on? And my dad, dig, so he would. So that's what got me interested. I was like, oh, so what everyone thinks, it's the opposite. Even what they tell you on TV. You'd watch the TV news, and it's not the same as even Time Magazine. It was like, that's not the same thing. They're not telling you. And so I knew right away that was messed up. But when I say, I think it takes, you have to develop, I think, I did anyway, how to be a comedian before I could talk about things that mattered. And I just told jokes about my family and what have you, and sex and stuff like that, everybody else. And it wasn't until the UCB Theater asked me to come do a show that I started. I was like, well, what am I going to do? They go, hey, you want to do a show? Because when they opened here,
On Franklin.
Yeah, they go, do you want to do a show? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do a show. And I was shitting in my pants, like, what am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so I just happened to be, I had all these clips that I was watching, and I just started taking clips to that, and that's how my political, it was just like that.
You know what's funny? I always did like a half political thing when I was on stage from the beginning. I was a political science major in college, and I remember being in all my politics classes, every single class that I took, every professor basically, I remember thinking, they all say the same thing at the end of the day, which is the whole system is broken. Because they're professors, so they can say it. The things that the politicians can't say, because they're talking about it at the intellectual level. And they'd be like, but none of this works this way because this and that, blah, blah, blah. So just when I started, I remember thinking, this whole thing is just broken. So it was such an obvious place to find humor. And then I used to smoke a lot of weed and watch CNN, and then that's where I would start writing jokes.
And it's funny when you said, you know, that all the professors said this whole system's broken, your interpretation of that, and I can see them saying it, had such a hint of defeat in it, like the whole system's broken.
Yes,
what are you gonna do? And you're like, well, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So when I started in college, I wanted to be a politician. I thought I was going to be a politician. I'll go study politics, then I'll be a politician. But then they kept saying, the system's broken, the system's broken, and I was like, well, I don't want to get into something that's broken, so I'll go into stand-up, which actually makes no sense whatsoever. But here we are.
Well-oiled machine stand-up.
Well, you know, a very well-oiled machine. So do we have a chance, getting back to where we started with this thing, do we have a chance that it's not going to be one of these dynasty families in 2016? Is there any hope for the Elizabeth Warren or the somebody to really come in? Because isn't this what we talk about here? Isn't this what everybody wants? Somebody really new?
Well, I think what's going to be the craziest thing, it'll be Hillary, in order to win over because she ran to the right in the last primary.
Yeah, to the right of
Barack Obama,
yeah.
right? And so what she's going to have to do to win the left back over is put Elizabeth Warren on the ticket. It'll be so historic, 2 women, be unprecedented. I'd vote for that ticket.
Are we ready for that? Is it how many PMS and bullshit, low-hanging fruit cliche?
We're ready for gay marriage. We're ready for marijuana. We're ready for 2 women, especially Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton. They're very, very accomplished.
I will drink to that.
You'll drink to that? All right, I'll drink to that too. Good stuff, guys.